What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today it is Mock Draft Monday. So we are going to be doing a no trades mock draft, and then tomorrow we're going to be doing 2 rounds of trades mock drafts over the next 2 days. So stay tuned for that because it's going to be awesome. PFF updated their draft order to reflect the current rankings, which is cool because I normally do the betting odds. So it's just a nice way to change things up. If you are new, feel free to stick around. We're on the way to 10K, so let's try to get there by the end of the year. That's a big stretch goal, but we're still going to have fun while doing it, so need your help on doing that. All of the beloved sponsors of the show are listed below. Everybody has a FanDuel or some type of underdog fantasy code, so feel free if you want to support a college boy like myself. That would be absolutely appreciated, and it would actually help fund the search for new All-22 tape. But let's get right into it because this is going to be a fun episode. So we've had a lot of pretty big games over the past week, and that includes, I'm primarily focusing on 2 games here, Iowa and Penn State and Notre Dame and Ohio State. Those are 2 games where I really wanted to see how these players, specifically JT Tuimoloau, Joe Alt, Olufashanu, those were my 3 big guys to look at. And we're going to discuss quite a bit of it in this, so it's not going to pertain to this pick. So for right now, the Bears. Here we go. So I normally trade up to the number 1 pick with the Bears. Don't need it anymore. I think the whole entire front office, everything should just be absolutely gutted. I know there's some pretty positive things that have come because of the fact that you traded back, ended up getting Darnell Wright, and you ended up getting multiple first round picks. So there are some positives that this front office has done. But when it comes to pretty much trading a first round pick for Chase Claypool, which I don't know why anybody would have in the first place. As a Steelers fan, he showed out 1 game, just never really showed out. So from that fuck up to pretty much just mishandling the whole organization, it just doesn't really seem like the cards stack in their favor. So I assume maybe we could get rid of all of the baggage. And thinking positively, you could have Ben Johnson potentially hop ship within division, knowing that he has a number 1 overall pick, talking to Caleb Williams and saying, hey, you are my guy. So very excited to say Caleb Williams is going to be the guy. Justin Fields just isn't it. It is not just Luke Getsy in his offensive system. It's not the offensive line. It really is Justin Fields. He's taking over 4 seconds to throw, doesn't understand how to read the field properly. And that was one of his biggest issues at Ohio State. His one big knock was he holds the ball very long and he forces his first read. Now he's not even really forcing his first read because he's taking so damn long to drop back that it's not even a viable option. Very unfortunate. He's not even using his legs to his maximum capacity. Just not there. But Caleb Williams is that guy who has that processing ability to where even when the play breaks down, he's able to go through multiple reads. I love what Caleb Williams can do as a playmaker. It really has like Justin Fields playmaking plus. And Justin Fields is one of the best playmakers when it goes right. The processing hasn't gone there for Fields. I hope he goes somewhere else and ends up being a huge success. But I don't think you're going to find it here in Chicago. And it's not worth passing on Caleb Williams at number 1 to be able to find out if Justin can work with somebody else. Pick number 2 for the Vikings. God only knows. So I know I got ripped apart a little bit because I had the Vikings. I had them as the number 1, but I had them, I believe, at 9-8 or 8-9. I just wasn't a huge fan of the division in the early parts of the year. And I got torn apart because people were saying this is the Super Bowl team. Now, I don't think they'll end up being here at number 2, but there is a chance Kirk Cousins gets shipped out to the New York Jets. I think that would be a smart move for both franchises if they want to be at this spot. And if that's the situation, God, would I love Drake May at this spot. Now, everybody knows at this point who have been subscribed here that I'm not the biggest Drake May guy in the world. I'm not. I don't think that he has improved in the areas that he needed to. And I think he's just continued to solidify his strengths. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think he's a very talented quarterback. I want to see the progression there for sure, but this is one of the best situations he can go to. You have an offensive line that, yeah, statistically they haven't been doing great, but you can tell, like you look at who it is. Christian Darrisaw's in there, Brian O'Neill. Like, you have two really good bookend tackles. You have top tier weapons. You have Bradbury there. Like, there are some really good pieces on this offensive line. Hoping that they find that cohesion for sure, but you have the pieces in place to have a good O-line, top tier receiving room. And the one thing you need is, at that point, if you are here assuming that means Kirk Cousins got shipped out, you just need a quarterback and then a top tier running back. The top tier running back, we have a lot of running backs who can perform like RB1s, or at least have a committee that can perform up to that caliber. Quarterback, you have the goal right here. Drake May, this is perfect for him because he does have some decision-making errors here and there. He does have some placement issues here and there. And you know who can really make that adjustment properly? Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson. This is a great spot for him to go. Now, a lot of people will get on me for being negative about certain players compared to the way the common person views them, the common board. Now, I only say that because as a prospect themselves, they might not be as good as some people believe. But just like Christian Gonzalez, he's a perfect example. I have dream fits for a reason, because when a player goes to the right situation, they are better than as they are just as a prospect. Sometimes guys fit perfectly. Christian Gonzalez, I said he'll probably be an all-pro year one. Like, I fell in love with that pick. Everybody knows that. I'm like, dude, if he goes to the Steelers, it's not going to happen. But if you go to the right spot, I think Drake May, if he ends up somehow going to the Vikings, this is a dream spot for him to go. And I am totally happy saying he could be the number 2 quarterback, or even the number 1, maybe year 1 with Caleb having some things to figure out there in Chicago. I still think Drake May could be a top, if not the top quarterback as his rookie year progresses here in Minnesota. They still have a lot of issues on the defensive side, but again, that doesn't pertain to the most valuable position in the whole sport, arguably in any sport there at the quarterback position. Pick number 3, potentially another spot to go after a QB. It's not a very easy spot to be in. Garrett Bowles literally saying, I'm tired of losing. All I've done here is lose. Not a great sign. Could be requesting a trade. I would not be shocked to see if he is traded. This could be a QB as well. I don't think there's a third QB because Joe Milton, I'm still going to keep there as my QB2 until all 22 comes out, which again, it's been ripping my hair out. But, I've been watching every single game. I just don't change DBs, wide receivers, and QBs based on normal game tape because you can't see the full rep. You don't get to see why they're making a decision. And Joe Milton honestly has been doing a lot better than what people have been saying. So I'm not going to drop him. He hasn't been playing egregious whatsoever. So I think that this is just way too early to take a quarterback who is a little bit older. You still have Russ there. And I don't think Russ is the big issue. The O-line hasn't been doing pretty well either. The defense, that's the main reason you're losing, if we're going to be honest here. You're still putting up 20 points, even in garbage time. You're still putting up 20 points. It's not like your offense is absolute crap. They're not putting up 3 points. So it's getting put up 70 on. That's something that's not able to be come back from. Now, you could say that's a really good reason to go after like a cornerback like Kool-Aid McKinstry. You might not be wrong. But, I think that the best value here is going to be Olu Fashanu. So I want to really talk about him as well. So Olu, everybody knows when I came into the year, he was my left tackle number 2. And I think that is a very admirable grade. He ended up having a 73.5, I believe. I said he needs to work on his anchor and he needs to polish up his overall mechanics, which makes sense. He was a first-year starter. And that's exactly what he's been doing. Now, I did just recently, like as of this morning, watch his game versus Iowa. His IQ of where the pocket is my biggest concern. I will see him redirect himself and not understand where the pocket is, and then he'll artificially collapse the pocket. Again, that's something that could probably be fixed with a little bit more reps. It's still pretty much within his first year and a half of playing, but the ability to mirror is ridiculous. Best athlete I've probably ever seen at the tackle position. And then just being able to refire his hands. For those of y'all who don't know what that means, it's basically you reach out with one and then you continue refiring with the other to make sure that you're still making the correct contact rather than, going like this the whole time. One that can get flagged, but regardless, that's one of the little itty bitty traits that I look for in my tackles because I think that's what separates a good tackle from, or a great tackle from a good. He has that. And the last guy I really saw that with was Evan Neal. So I pray to God, because both of them were extremely athletic and had some very high upside traits. I pray to God that he goes to a situation where he can play left tackle. And because, again, you can't always make the switch. And I'm just praying to the love of God that he's able to be here. And with Garrett Bowles in this situation, most likely saying, I'm out, we're going to be in with Olu Fashanu. So there's my very long description of what it is. I just updated my scouting report, so you guys got a very free glimpse into my potential future tackle video, because Olu is now my offensive tackle number 1. Because, again, it's not that other people were right. Other people projected that he would take this jump. I'm going to give you guys the honest opinion on who they are now. And the best thing in the world is saying, hey, he started here, and look at how far he's come. That's what I offer. Now, I know that might mean that my early predictions sometimes doesn't fully line up with how it is in the end. But the best thing is that you can see those guys who've taken those big jumps. Those are the ones to keep your eye on, because a lot of teams are going to say, hey, look at how big of a gap they came. Look how good they are. I'm not going to bullshit you and telling you, oh, this player's going to jump, because that's not what you deserve to hear. Like, why would I bullshit about something that's not true? Because what's true is how they play, and then what the potential is. Now, we're seeing the potential being realized, and that's what's awesome about Olu Fashanu, and I think that's what makes my grading scale a little bit different than some other people's. At pick number 4, somehow, some way, there's Marvin Harrison and Brock Bowers here, and don't think I really need to overthink this one too much. It's just one of those situations where, you're talking about Olu Fashanu. I'm debating putting Olu up here with the Brock Bowers territory. It doesn't really matter. All of these guys are super studs, so, good for all of them. It's just, you're getting perfect fits. That's why I love this. I saw this, I was like, damn. I rip into Drake May a lot, but I really love where he's going to be here. At pick number 5, we got the Bengals. Do I need to explain this? I don't think the Bengals are going to be here. Now, if Joe's calf doesn't improve, the velocity in the ball is going to be different. The placement's going to be different because Joe's going to have to adjust for not throwing the way he's comfortable throwing. There is a chance where they're saying, fuck it, just sit. There is a minute chance. Minute. Super minute. I don't think they're going to be here. But if they are, because again, I'm following PFF's board right now, which is, I think, based on the records, we're going to go Brock Bowers. So enjoy it. Enjoy the delusion of having Brock Bowers as a potential candidate for a Super Bowl team, which is some bullshit, but it's okay. Pick number 6 for the Cardinals, who usually pick 1 and 2. Now they're at 6 and 12. So Cardinals, this spot, I'm debating Joe Alt, but I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is just the best option here. The top tier corners are, spectacular. I love Kool-Aid McKinstry. This guy is just an absolute ball hawk. Even though he doesn't always come away with the pick, he sure as hell comes away with the PBU at the very minimum. 16 pass breakups last year. This guy's a super stud. I'm just a super big fan of Kool-Aid McKinstry. And it's a position this team needs to upgrade, even though somehow, some way, Coach of the Year, Jonathan Gannon, is just kicking ass. Like, I don't get it. I really don't. Like, it's like now a prerequisite of new coaches to be shitty in interviews to be good. I personally don't understand that, because he doesn't seem like someone who I'd ever get motivated by, but hey, power to you, dude. Straight up power to you. He's been doing an excellent job motivating this team and making them perform way better than what they should. And that's a sign of a very good coach. You see guys like Tomlin being able to make the Steelers with Duck Hodges a over 500 team, or at least I think that was 500 back in the day. So, that's a very good sign. Didn't expect it. I don't think any of us did, but why not give him at least some more talent here? And maybe Budda Baker will come back, and now you have Kool-Aid McKinstry, Budda Baker, Garrett Williams. You are starting to build a really good core. Pick number 7, the Chargers. This is why it's a little bit fun, because I don't think the Chargers are going to be here, even though they have an Achilles heel, which is Staley, and he needs to go. like now. You're seeing Herbert like throw like 5 incompletions and like 45 passes. I think it was 7 on 47. And putting up like god tier numbers, and they're still barely winning by 4 points. Like, are you kidding me? Of course, now to the Drake May commanded Vikings, but it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't. That's a coaching error. If your players are performing, but you're not absolutely shellacking the other team, it's a coaching mistake because your players are doing their part and the coaching is not. I hope to God they fire him, maybe even fire him more because he hasn't been doing anything to fully unlock the offense. So fingers crossed they do something to help out that front office. Maybe this is where Ben Johnson ends up. That'd be such a good fit. But I think his ego might get intertwined with Kellen Moore's because both of them, both of them are pretty good offensive minds. So I'd be a little bit concerned about that. Regardless, at this spot, you have some really, really good options here. Like really good. I think bolstering the defense, maybe with a corner like Kalen King, isn't an awful idea. JC Jackson hasn't worked. How he was a healthy scratch the other day. I think Jerzon Newton is worth this pick, even though I usually take him down the line. This is this team that does look for defensive interior. And by doing that, you are taking him away from the Raiders who could be there. Like, you want to reduce the capacity for a team in your own division to potentially usurp your ability to actually dominate. So I think Jared Verse or Jerzon Newton are both really good options here. Like, the real trait that I see translating to the NFL is the ability to shed blocks. And it's not always the power that matters. It's the ability to just get away from the blocker in front of you. Jerzon Newton is one of, if not the best, at shedding blocks. So going to give my boy Johnny Newton some love here in the top 10, even though he usually does fall. Titans, I'm debating on Jared Verse here. Part of me just really wants to go Joe Alt. And Joe Alt, I'll talk about him because I'm not going to put JT in the first round in this one, but he has risen up my board exponentially. So there you go. Again, it's not that I didn't like JT, is that the traits I saw were extremely underdeveloped, and it would take a very big leap for me to be putting him in the first round. Now it's a much smaller leap. He's, I believe, now my edge rusher number 6. Like, again, I owe you guys honesty, not bullshit. And I'm not going to project growth on an edge rushing team that had their top tier edge rusher as like a 4th or a late 3rd round pick. Like, again, he didn't seem like he had great mentors there. They're doing a great job at developing their edge rushers there for sure. But regardless, Joe Alt, I think that this is just perfect for the Titans. I know Andre Dillard's there, but Andre Dillard is extremely versatile. Just developing the offensive line is the exact thing you need to do. Peter Skoronski is going to be a top tier guard for a long time. Like, to me, this is just the best case scenario. So I'm going to go Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. Pick number 9 for the Jaguars. My God. Every time I fall in love, like, it's usually the Colts that I end up falling in love with. Like, straight up, the Colts are always my team that I go for. And this time it's like, oh, Jacksonville, I think they could be a winner of the Super Bowl. Somehow they can't perform. I don't get it. Personally, I just don't understand. I genuinely do not understand. They have a top-tier receiver in Calvin Ridley, top-tier quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. You have a solid offensive line, even though I'm debating being a homeboy and putting my boy Christian Haynes at this spot. But I think we'll push that off in the time being. It just, I don't get it. I don't. And when in doubt, Jared Verse it out. I mean, no. I'm going to say they re-sign Josh Allen. If Josh Allen leaves, if they're a top 10 pick, Josh Allen will leave. So, you know what? Let's assume that happens. No, that's stupid. That's stupid to do. This is all live, by the way. We're going to be, we'll look at like offensive line, defensive interior. Like, we could end up going after Leonard Taylor here and just hope that he unlocks this team. But you know what? Fuck it. We're going to go after my favorite player in the draft, Christian Haynes. I think that he's going to continue rising up boards. He's going to go to one of these bowl games, and I assume it's probably going to be the Senior Bowl, and he's going to light it up. He's going to run an insane time at the combine. He's pretty much going to be the Cam Jurgens of this draft where, people don't really think about him. He's probably going to be, Jurgens was considered like a 6th round pick, and he's going to accelerate into the 2nd. And Christian Haynes is probably going to be thought of as a 3rd round pick. They're going to see, oh, wow, this guy's a god tier athlete. He's going to ascend into this range. Now, I'd trade back for this pick, but I'm going to be a freaking homer. Now, I know that the Jaguars organization Balky loves athletic interior offensive linemen. Christian Haynes is the most athletic interior offensive lineman I've ever studied. At pick number 10, should we just get a fifth, like, brilliant edge here for the Jets? I'd debate it, honestly, just to say fuck it. But at this point, offensive tackle is the priority. Now, I still actually have my boy Taliese Fuaga now above Joe Alt. I think that could be a very smart move, but I'm going to go after Amarius Mims here, who has been playing right tackle, but Mekhi Becton's actually starting at left. So he's now had some more reps at left. Going to hope that he can stay there and continue developing that role. At pick number 11, why is Jared Verse falling? I really hate this. I'm not purposely having Jared Verse fall. As you can tell, he's number 7 on my board. I'm just not seeing many teams. Like maybe the Chargers could have taken him, maybe the Titans, but there's just certain players that fall because teams just don't need dudes. But the Patriots, it's really going to be down to tackle and wide receiver for me. So we'll just select both and see what's up. Now you got Keon Coleman and Emeka Egbuka here. I think Keon Coleman's a true X build, but I think Emeka Egbuka suits what Mac Jones needs a little bit more. When you think back to who Mac Jones has really thrived with, it's honestly people who are built like Xavier Worthy, the thinner receivers. But I think Emeka Egbuka is going to offer the route running ability that someone like Xavier Worthy has, and very similar to the speed. I love Emeka Egbuka. Like he's a freaking monster, but you at least have more of a X build receiver there. I think that he might not be a true number 1 at the next level. I love him to death. Again, I'm not trying to shit on him at all. Like I haven't seen him as the true number 1. I've seen him thrive as a number 2. And again, that is not a bad thing at all. I'm just saying Keon Coleman will be a guaranteed boundary receiver. Like he'll be a guaranteed boundary X receiver. Emeka, he's a super weapon. You can put him anywhere. It's really what flavor of ice cream do you like? Do you like the one that's a little bit more, calm, consistent, just really good, your mainstay? Or do you want that crazy out of this world flavor here in Keon Coleman where you could just say Kobe and lob it up? I feel like Emeka Egbuka is more suited for a Bill O'Brien offense. So I feel like that's the route I will go. But at the same time, do not discount Keon Coleman because I think that'd be a great pick too. The tackle is where I usually go, but my Patriots fans have been crying for a receiver forever, and I owe it to y'all at the very minimum. Very minimum. Pick number 12. Cardinals are sitting here, and to me, it's hard not to go after Jared Verse at this point. I know they don't need it, but every team is kind of, hungry for the most valuable position on the defense, which is the edge rusher position. Could technically snag another top-tier corner here. Like, assuming I do not go Jared Verse, which I'm going to just say it right now, I'm going Jared Verse. Other positions I would be willing to target. Defensive interior. You still have Leonard Taylor here, which is an amazing move. But I will say this about this class. You have guys like Dante Corleone down the line. Michael Hall looked a lot better. Tylee Williams looks incredible. You have really good targets in the later rounds. Now, you could say the same thing about edge rusher, for example, because you don't need it. You have B.J. Ojolari, Myles Sanders, Cam Thomas. But none of them are going to be remotely as good as Jared Verse, because Jared Verse is a special being, and I pray to God it actually drafts Jared Verse, because PFF's done this to me a couple times now. But good thing I don't have to readjust the draft order. Regardless, hallelujah, Jared Verse, just sometimes the talent's too good to pass on. Now, he has had that ankle injury that he had last year, played through it, which is, again, commendable. Really awesome. He's the highest graded pure pass rusher I have. And he might just be a little bit less versatile than someone like Dallas Turner, but really he's done a phenomenal job. He really is super special. He deserves to go here, but Marvin Harrison was there. Otherwise, I'm happy taking him at 4. At pick number 13 for the Giants, I think, people talk about Malik Neighbors, and I like Malik Neighbors. Again, I have my receiver video where he's like wide receiver 10. That is nothing knocking him as a receiver. As an entire prospect, I don't think he's a great route runner. But I think in a role that values speed and after the catch ability, this guy's going to be an absolute monster. So again, when you look at rankings, it is a holistic approach to a position, not how do they fit in a system. I do think Malik Neighbors would be a solid fit in this system. However, I think you're looking for a true X build. Since you paid Kenny Golladay $1 billion Everybody's been saying, well, who's going to be that number one? And Keon Coleman's going to be that. Plain and simple. He's exactly what you're looking for. And yes, I'm taking him above Johnny Wilson, who I have higher. But that's just because I think if Johnny Wilson gets on the damn jugs machine, he'll be fine. Keon Coleman has asserted himself as a creme de la creme product. I think he still needs to work on his release package, and that might be why sometimes he is in a contested catch position, because he doesn't get off the line the way that you really want him to. He doesn't get that initial separation to be able to be as wide open as maybe he should. But that's a nuance of the game he's continuing to develop, and he's going to continue rising up my board for that. So, again, I'm not saying Johnny Wilson is by far a better prospect than Keon Coleman. I'm saying Keon Coleman's been kicking some fucking ass, being the guy we know him to be from Michigan State. I had him at number 6 as a wide receiver, as one of the guys who I projected as being a superstar there at Florida State. Don't get on my ass about the fact that I fell in love with him back at Michigan State. Been talking about this dude for a long time, and he's really awesome. He could continue ascending into my top 10, especially with guys like Braylon Trice not fully stepping up, so they could be dropping out of my top 10. So there's definitely room for Keon Coleman in the top 10. I'm just holding off just for the time being. At pick number 14, I'm going to have Aiden O'Connell take over the Raiders. I know this is a good spot to snag a guy like Bo Nix, Michael Penix. I'm going to take Shadur Sanders out of this because Daddy Sanders talked about it, and also just makes it more interesting. Gives us some room for guys like J.J. McCarthy, Quinn Ewers, etc. I'm going to pass on a QB at this point because Aiden showed so much promise. The rest of the team still needs a ton of help. I'm going to start helping out with Kalen King, who I take in the top 10. But again, not many quarter-needy teams up in this range. Pick number 15 for the Rams. Now, at this spot, I'm looking at you don't need to look at offensive weapons. They seem to know how to snipe them down the board. Cooper Kupp, like 3rd-round pick. Puka Nacua, what was he, like a 5th? So y'all know what you're doing. When it comes to seeing value at the receiver position, I still think offensive line could be an excellent spot for this team to go. I love the idea of Graham Barton and moving him around the whole offensive line. Troy Fautanu, he's going to be a great interior offensive lineman. Doesn't have experience at center, so that's why I'd be more leaning towards the versatility of Graham Barton. I don't know why he's listed as a pure tackle. His arms are just really short, and I really like Graham Barton a lot. I've been a big fan of him since last year, but at the same time, for me, when you have big length limitations, if Peter Skoronski is going to be a longer term option at guard, Graham Barton is too. So we'll leave it at that. Other positions of note, the whole defense for that matter. Leatu Latu's a beast. You could definitely take him for this team, but I do think that you could get better value from someone like Leonard Taylor here, learning from Aaron Donald, or maybe Aaron Donald retires and you need someone with that upside. Leonard Taylor is one of the more freaky defensive interiors I've studied. Now, Jalen Carter is, again, that creme de la creme territory, but Leonard Taylor is like one tier below that, and that's still spectacular value at 15. Pick number 16 for the Packers. This is another, I don't know if they really need a QB. Now, Jordan Love needs to be more consistent, but he makes some spectacular throws. I do think interior offensive line is a position that I would target, but I would target it down the line because that's what the Packers do. Defense is the position I would go after because that is exactly what they like to go after. Edge rusher is not a position I think we need to worry about, so let's click off the edge rusher position. Linebacker, I don't think they'll take one at 16. I don't really think they need to take one. I think they could look at defensive interior here with Chris Jenkins just because he's a beast, but I'm really looking now at that secondary spot. Now, you can go Cooper DeJean here, or you can go Cameron Kinchens. I like Cooper DeJean. I've been taking him here for a while. I think I'm going to continue doing that just because, one, he's played in the climates that he's going to be playing in, so he's comfortable in those nasty-ass winters. So you already know he can produce in that environment compared to a monster in Cameron Kinchens, who has been kind of playing out in Miami. And then he also has the corner versatility, and he can make an immediate impact on special teams because he's a beast as a returner. So continuing the boring trend of Cooper DeJean, I don't think anybody's going to be complaining if that's the pick, but it is what it is. Pick number 17, finally, there aren't a billion top-tier wide receivers here. And yes, I am not fully there with Xavier Worthy yet, but we'll get there. We will. Again, all 22 needs to come out to convince me, but I'm always open, always excited. But to be fair, I've been hearing a lot of rumors about people not liking Ryan Ramczyk. Granted, those rumors are on Twitter, so God forbid if they are actually legitimate or just complete bullshit. So there is some concern there. But those tackle spots have not been performing well. They just haven't. I think that's certainly a position I would love to target at this point with someone like Taliesin Fuaga, who's been absolutely dominating. And fun fact, as of tomorrow, I will be bringing back Brennan Jackson, edge rusher from Washington State, who just went up against Taliesin, and he'll be actually breaking down that game with me on the show later this week. So stay tuned for that. Very excited because Brennan's a great friend of the show, and just actually a really quality dude. Definitely worth taking a peek at. Quarterback is a sneaky need here, like especially if the shoulder issue continues to pertain for Derek Carr, because I know he ended up having to leave the game. Like certainly is something where you could look at the QB position, and there's some good QBs on the board too. It's a team I'm not very comfortable drafting for, if I'm going to be completely blunt. This could be where we see the first linebacker here and Tommy Eichenberg come off the board, because I've been trying to find a way to get him in here. Jeremiah Trotter, another really good option. Any of these guys are honestly a great choice. They are. I think Malik Neighbors could be a really cool complement to Chris Olave, because Chris Olave is that nifty route runner who also has really good deep speed. But I think Malik Neighbors is that bona fide deep threat with the after the catch ability. So we're gonna keep him right down the road from LSU, that Baton Rouge to New Orleans connection there, Malik Neighbors. Pick number 18 for the Cowboys. So God only knows how the fuck you lost to Arizona, man. I know offensive linemen, injuries, they happen, but to be fair, the Cardinals had a ton of injuries and guys out too. Just going to put that out there. Trevon's going to be coming back from an ACL tear. I do think when it comes to guys like Denzel Burke, Jason Marshall, Kamari Lassiter, these are dudes who I'd feel very comfortable with. I do think you could snag Josh Newton in round number 2, though. So looking at other positions of note, offensive line, Graham Barton might need to be the move. Just with dudes getting injured constantly, it showed how much it affected the team. And I think that's just the best move you can make. Linebacker as well. But I think that offensive line is the creme de la creme position to target. And Graham Barton can eventually sub in at tackle if shit happens. So pick number 19 for the Steelers. Again, even players I have in the top 5 end up slipping. I'll scroll down a little bit for y'all. The offensive line's been absolutely atrocious. Corner number 2 is a need, but when it comes down to it, I'm going to be going after my guy Taliesin Fuaga for this team. It's not going to be Patrick Paul. I'm just using him as a placeholder. PFF doesn't have him in here just yet, but Taliesin Fuaga will be a name that you'll be hearing in mock drafts come the spring, just because this guy's an absolute freaking beast. I mean, I just did a 2-round mock of PFN's mock draft, and it was the first mock draft that I saw Taliesin Fuaga in, and I just had a moment of pure bliss. Very excited for people to start getting on the hype train of my favorite offensive tackle in the class. Not my number 1, but now my favorite, because he's just so fun. He's such a good player. Pick number 20. We have the Texans here. So CJ's been looking like a great player. Again, I moved him up into my top 10 by the end of it, so it's not like I was saying that he was a bad QB. I don't know why people had that agenda. I said that there were certainly some aspects of his game that were concerning. He still forces slants. He still thinks he can fit into super tight windows. And we're seeing even with Trevor Lawrence that that's not always the best decision. However, if you're in a system that rewards you, cheers to the offensive coordinator, by the way, I forget who it is. Like, they're scheming up some really good plays. And CJ's making the most of it, as he should. So good for him. So you guys are doing a great job there in Houston. I think that you could go again, Dallas Turner. I love that connection. Chris Jenkins is a super fun one. Offensive line, you just need to get healthy. Plain and simple, you just need to get healthy. Wide receiver, I don't think I'm going to go after one at this point, because there's just so many dudes. And Xavier Legette, I think, is going to be coming out in this class too. Could be a sneaky guy out of South Carolina. Like that dude. Well, he's been around Twitter quite a bit. I know it's lazy, but I might go the Dallas Turner just because of the Will Anderson connection. And pass rusher is so valuable in the NFL. You could even use him as an off-ball linebacker. I know it's lazy because I've already done it multiple times and because of that connection, but chemistry is a thing in the NFL, and Dallas Turner is a freak. I love Dallas Turner. He is my number 5 player in the class. Pick number 21. This team is the best performing team without a quarterback, and they need one. Now, I'd prefer to get one with some more mobility. I think Bo Nix is a better fit in that regard. You could talk about Joe Milton as being a good fit in that regard, JJ McCarthy as well. Michael Penix doesn't have the movement skills that I would be looking for in this specific system. So I'm going to go Bo Nix because, again, he has more of that Ryan Tannehill system fit than Michael Penix. And I love Bo Nix. He's been performing phenomenally after crushing Prime's Colorado Buffaloes, which, again, he should because that defense is kind of buns, but that's beside the point. Pick number 22. So we're seeing Terrell Bernard, who I actually really liked, he's starting to step up, and that's awesome. Now, for me, other positions they should be targeting, they should be looking at that tackle spot always, very vigilantly. You got Kingsley Suamataia, who's been not doing a great job at left tackle, but he was a very stout right tackle. Tyler Guyton, J.C. Latham. Latham's gotten better, for sure. I still think that I'm still rubbed the wrong way by the fact that he just naturally doesn't put 100% effort into every play. But the defense, the secondary, this defense is really what makes this team tick. And you're just going to want to continue feeding that beast. It's Nubbin or it's going to be Kinchins. I'm going to go for the ball hawk here in Cameron Kinchins. Pick number 23, speaking of a team that just got their asses whooped, offensive line is key here. It really is. I don't think there's going to be much debate over that. We've already drafted Taliese Fuaga, who I would have probably wanted to take here. But I think J.C. Latham, you can't get much worse. So why not take a chance on a guy with a ton of upside? I love Tyler Guyton. I think he could be better. But J.C. Latham's going to have multiple years of experience under his belt. Pick number 24. No, I am not crapping on the guys who are falling. Again, certain teams have very pressing issues that can be solved with someone who's remotely worth that value. And, the Commanders could have taken an edge rusher there, Leatu Latu, Chop Robinson, JT Tuimalau, for example. There are some really good ones still on the board. Braylon Trice, who I have in my top 10. So just keep that in mind. I'm not crapping on players by having them fall. It's just what happens. Pick number 24, though, I think Chris Jenkins. I don't think anybody's going to complain about a top-tier defensive interior player going here to the Seahawks. Pick number 25 would have been great for Chris Jenkins. So sorry, Lions fans. But looking at other positions you could target, you could still target a defensive interior here. You still could. But I think the offensive line is probably the best move. I'm not seeing a really good right guard that I'm comfortable with, though. I will say that right now, Zach Zenter, round number 2, Christian Mahogany, round number 2. Those guys are going to be a little bit better value than taking one right here. I'm still looking at wide receiver and corner, and you have some really good ones on the board. I will save you the heartache of going after another corner from Ohio State. However, Jason Marshall, Kamari Lassiter, even Josh Newton, Nate Wiggins, you have some really good options on the board. So you can't really go wrong here. You could end up just going a wide receiver for that very reason. And you know what? We'll do it. I think Johnny Wilson, my number 3 player in the class, will end up being a super stud. I'm having him fall because I blend my board with realism. And I don't think because of those drop issues on very simple passes. And I think that's more of a mental thing than his hands. I feel like he just thinks it's so easy because he makes beautiful catches. It's not like his hands are an actual issue. I think it's a mental processing thing where he's already thinking about what's happening after the play because he's like, oh, I already caught this. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't understand that. It's the biggest enigma I've had for a receiver is how the hell can you, how can you just straight up drop the easiest pass but then make the most contested? It just doesn't make sense. But this team could use a guy like that for sure. Pick number 26 for the Colts. So Colts, I don't know why. I guess because you guys keep winning games. Granted, even as a Steelers fan, I realized how atrocious that no call was. Y'all still need help in that secondary because the only way you won was because you didn't lose. It's because they didn't call a freaking penalty on y'all. I'm going to go after Denzel Burke here. I know he's a different style of corner than what you're normally going for because if you want to go after someone who's very similar in style to Juju Brents, I don't really know if there is somebody in this class that's close to Juju Brents. in that more off man slash. I mean, I guess Dwight McLaughlin actually might be a great pick for this team. He's not even listed here, but he had a phenomenal game this past week, and he's going to be on my risers for sure. We'll use Max Melton as the placeholder because I love Max Melton, and we can give him a little bit of a boost in his ADP rankings. But this is going to be Dwight McLaughlin out of Arkansas, top tier off man corner, and he's a ball hawk too. Just he performs so damn well, and I love seeing that. He's been performing week after week after week. You know, even when the rest of his team's getting absolutely toasted, he is the one bright spot. So good for him. Because, yeah, that defense is getting eaten alive. I feel bad. There was this other corner who got toasted for 3 touchdowns on 23 reps. I'm like, damn, I couldn't go to sleep at night after that. At pick number 27, though, we have the Ravens who, again, just lost because of a BS call. But this could be a team that does look for a running back. And I will say, looking at how many dudes are on the board, like I just did a running back video. This class is super stacked. Like you can go later and just snag a stud. Like there are some really good players in this class. I do think that edge rusher, you could just continue to just get BPA. You got JT, you got Trice, you got Robinson, you get Leatu. Like there's just some really awesome players on the board. Other positions of note, tackle though. I mean, with the amount of times Ronnie Stanley's been injured, I feel so bad. Morgan Moses has been doing a great job, but Morgan's also getting very old. So you always run the risk there. I'm going to go Tyler Guyton here and develop another monster out of Oklahoma to be eventual star tackle for your team. I don't like Falele that much, so that's probably another reason why I do this, but Tyler Guyton is just a superior product in all regards, in my opinion. Pick number 28. So I honestly might be on board with going edge rusher here, but the quarterback position is the way we need to go. I love Michael Penix. Don't try to twist the narrative and say I don't like him based on how far he fell. Like, just don't twist it. That'd just be stupid of you. This system is working really well with a game manager in Baker Mayfield, and Michael Penix offers all of that plus more. This is going to be an excellent fit. This is one of my favorite fits for Michael Penix, and it's just a system that works really damn well. So I'm excited to show you guys when I do end up bringing out my quarterbacks video for mid-season what happens with Michael Penix, because you know I'm so excited to break out the new grading scale that I've been using on my recent rankings videos, and he's gonna have this is one of his favorite teams or one of his dream fits. It's a great team to be on. Pick number 29. So KC. I think defensive interior still is the way to go, but did I already take Malik Neighbors? Did I really? That's crazy. Did I actually take Malik? Like, deep down inside, I totally forgot that. Am I tripping? I did. Oh, right. Yeah. Malik Neighbors is my favorite pick for this team, man. I just screwed myself over. Anywho, Troy Franklin's still an excellent choice. I'm trying to basically get rid of Marquez Valdes-Scantling with a guy who's basically better at that position. I love Troy Franklin. I think that's a great option for the team. Now that Taylor Swift has taken your number 1 tight end, you could be looking at Jatavian Sanders here. Not going to do that. I think that defensive interior, still position to target. Still think tackle could be a position to go after. You got Kingsley Suamatea, who can play both sides, Javon Foster. Like, there are some good tackles still available. So for me, since there's so many options, I'm going to go after my favorite one that I'll probably forget about if I don't take him here. And that's a bullshit reason. I'm joking. Troy Franklin, he is number 30 on my board. Spectacular wide receiver out of Oregon. And he fits the exact role that you're probably going to be looking to replace. So pick number 30 for the Philadelphia Eagles. Leatu is here. Braylon Trice is here. You have some phenomenal choices at edge rusher since Derek Barnett as well as BG will probably be gone. You thrive off of that rotation. And because Josh Sweat will probably be extended, you're going to want to take someone who has a little bit more potential, and that's Leatu. We're going to take him here. Pick number 31 for the Dolphins. We're going to take a wide receiver. JK. You guys have done a phenomenal job. I don't get it personally, how you could be this efficient, but you put up 70 points without Jalen Waddle. Maybe you should have traded Jalen Waddle for JT. Jokes, obviously, because that's some bullshit. But, You guys have done a great job. I think that developing a corner is probably the right thing to do. I see Denzel Burke as the guy with the most potential apart from Kamari, but Kamari is the biggest gap to learn. And I think you have 1 year to train up a corner and not 2. So I'm going to be going Denzel Burke here out of the Ohio State University. Pick number 32 and ending off the draft, we have the Niners. The Niners. I love Chop Robinson again. I'm not trying to shame him by not taking him in this. Like, there's genuinely not many teams that need edge rusher anymore. It's a very saturated position in the NFL. I think right tackles and interior offensive line is the place I really love to go. I really want to kick Kingsley back to right tackle, especially since he lost some weight. Could be an excellent addition there. Probably going to be my pick. We're going to be completely fair here. Other positions I could see them going after, though. I mean, of course, Deshaun Gibson, like leaving. Kalen Bullock is a great choice. Tyler Nubin, great choice. Like, you really could just absolutely shellac teams by having another ball hawk at safety. I feel like that's the way the Niners will lean. So we're going to go Kalen Bullock here. Superstar out of USC to the Niners. That is going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. Check back tomorrow for the trades mock draft. See you on the far side. Peace.